The average cost of care in our country right now is $5,350 per month per person. We'll call it 5,500 just to call it even, because that average number includes our friends on government funding as well as our private pay friends. So in California, if you have any friends or family who have loved ones going into care homes, they might be paying $8, $9, $10,000 a month, right, in private pay. So 5,500 to call it even. 10 residents in the home, that's 55,000 coming in every month. Your mortgage on that, $1 million plus home might run you about 10 grand a month.
A leader has to take the risks.
How's it going?
Is that Isabelle? What's going
Hey.
on? How are you?
Doing good. How are you today?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I like your background. Pretty cool.
It was supposed to be like small polka dots and it came and it was like cow print. I'm like, okay, we're going with it.
We're going with it, man. That's it, man. That's it. That's it. So what part of the world are you?
I'm based in Phoenix.
Okay. And
Yeah,
is
what
that,
about you?
I'm in Newport Beach, actually.
Okay, not too far there.
Yeah, yeah. Nice little 5-hour drive or something like that.
Yep.
So how's the weather? Is it getting a little bit hot now?
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
already like 90 some days.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay.
I used to be in San Diego, so I know what I'm missing over there, right? You guys have
You know what you did. You know what you did. So
yes.
I'm sure it was good reason and life changing. So
There we
that's
go.
all that matters. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, great to meet you, Isabelle. Guarino, right? Is
Yeah.
that, do I say that right? Okay, Guarino. And you're like the mega mogul of assisted living spaces. Is that right?
Yeah.
How did that all start for you?
Yeah, actually, my dad was a real estate investor my whole life, and my grandmother needed care and assistance. She fell and broke her arm, and so he was looking for an option for her. And when we toured facilities, he was like, "These are terrible. They smell bad. The care's bad. Everything's bad, and they're expensive with waiting lists." So, with his real estate background, he was like, "Wait, I'm going to pay 5 grand a month for her to be in one of these facilities, or I could own one, cash flow 10 grand a month, and she could live for free." So she was in upstate New York at the time. We went back to Arizona where we live, and he actually purchased his first one, the real estate and the business. And I just saw what he was doing, and I'd always been interested in real estate and was like, I want to get involved now. So started working with him. That was about 10 years ago. Since then, we have 3 care homes. We've invested in a bunch across the country, and we've trained thousands how to do this as well. So not facilities, but residential homes that house these seniors.
And I was reading about you on your website, and they were talking about Gene. Is that your father, Gene?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So tell me a little bit about your father. Like, what's he like, and how did he get into real estate and all that growing up?
He'd been in real estate since he was 18 years old. He was a musician and all sorts of different things throughout his life, but always a real estate investor to the core. And he'd done really everything, fix and flip, wholesale, low income, rentals, whatever, you name it. And then when this came about, he sold everything he did and went all into RAL. He passed in 2021. So all of his businesses went on to me and my siblings, and we've been kind of carrying the torch going forward. So that's another really cool thing, is that this is an industry that can easily pass from one generation to the next because it's so passive. We spend 5 hours a week on the 3 care homes, and they're cash flowing 10K each. So it's pretty cool because you can not only provide a solution for if anyone in your family ever needs care, you can cash flow and you can pass it to the next generation. So it's kind of that triple threat there.
Yeah, I was always interested. Matter of fact, it's interesting you said about 10 years ago. Probably about 10 years ago, I just remember reading. I've been following Tony Robbins my whole entire, self-improvement life.
Yeah.
And yeah, he'd been talking about senior care living like was gonna be the next generation of
Oh,
kind of investments. And just simply because between 1946 and 1964 there were 80 million baby boomers that were born, right? So it's just inevitable that we're gonna need these assisted living situations. And if you could cash flow on it, I mean, it just makes a lot of sense. I mean, are they hard? I mean, I know you said 5 hours a week, but you know, because you're dealing with older people, you're dealing with people that are falling, you're dealing with, obviously you have, nurses and doctors that are taking care of these people. But, how does that all work?
Yeah, so it's 5 hours for the owner operator, right? Because I'm not living in the home or working in the home, but the licensed administrator is there kind of like as a property manager in the real estate world, and they run all the day to day. So the marketing, the touring, the resident acceptance, they do the hiring and firing of caregivers. If somebody no shows for their shift, they either fill it with someone else or do it themselves. And they are also hiring those licensed caregivers. So no doctors or nurses needed. Instead, it's a licensed administrator and licensed caregivers who are doing all that day to day within the home.
And so, is that enough? I mean, to take care, like how many people are usually living in each house?
Yeah, so in a big box facility, for perspective, right, there may be 100 to 250 per building. And the ratios are typically 30 seniors to one caregiver. In our homes, there's 6 to 16, depending on where you are across the country. You're allowed to have somewhere between that range. Here in Arizona, we're allowed to have 10 in a home. So we have 10 seniors, and our ratios are 4 to 1 or 5 to 1. So the ratios are so much better. And the care then in part is so much better because one person cannot take care of 30 people. That is impossible. It should
Right.
be illegal and it's not. And that is why when you hear these horror stories over and over and over, it's all about those facilities, never the care homes, because our ratios are just so much better. It's so much easier to care for 4 people than it is for 30, right? That's just impossible.
And how big are these houses? I mean, what kind of square footage are you
Typically,
usually
we
looking at?
recommend 300 to 500 square feet per resident. So with 10 residents, minimum 3,000, upwards of 5,000 is very comfortable. Most seniors want private bedrooms, private bathrooms. So these are large luxury upscale homes in really nice parts of town. The state only requires, and this is pretty much across all 50 states because we teach nationally, 80 to 100 square feet per person. So you can do it smaller,
Wow,
but
wow.
that is tiny. And again, we're like, no, 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 do big, do luxury, like give these seniors the best of the best, towards their end of life. So we definitely really push for that high quality experience so that not only are the seniors actually getting what they deserve, but the families are grateful. They're thankful, they're appreciative because you're offering such a great alternative.
And for you, doing this over the last 10 years, what's been one of the major challenges for you?
Staffing and people are always going to be a challenge, right? We do have a massive nurse shortage. And although we don't have nurses in the home, it trickles down, right? If people aren't becoming nurses, they're also not becoming, CNAs or all these other things lesser than a nurse, right? So it's kind of fluid all throughout. And so we're starting to see a lot of trends where people from other countries are coming over to take care of seniors in our community, right? We're currently 1.3 million beds short. So there's not enough beds. There's massive amount of supply, or I'm sorry, massive amount of demand, right? Not enough supply in housing, but also in care. We don't have enough caregivers. So that is difficult, not just finding them, but training and retaining them and make sure we have the right people in the right seats.
So you talked a little bit about compliance and regulation. Is that been a challenge at all for you?
Every state varies a little bit, but typically the house is going to have a license on it. And so you have to get that approved through the state. That's going to be based on emergency egress and safety for the seniors. So ramps, guardrails, handrails. You don't have to be ADA compliant, but you want to be as close to that as possible. So getting the house ready to go, maybe adding fire suppression, widening hallways and doorways. That's one thing that will keep you in compliance and having those documents you need to provide to the state to get that license and stamp of approval. And then you're hiring your licensed administrator and they're hiring your licensed caregivers. So technically, you, the owner, don't have any license, but the home, the administrator, the caregivers all do, and keeping those things, up to par and making sure that you are in standard in compliance is really important because you don't want to run this willy-nilly. These are people's lives at stake. It's not just real estate, it's care, and that's a really important thing to remember.
Well, I think also, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, that's why the profit is so much bigger. So, a little bit more, I always say no wealth without risk. And so you want to earn bigger profits, you're going to have to take a little bit more risk. And with that risk is things like regulation, things like the possibility of not being able to find caregivers. And there's certain challenges that might arise versus just a regular tenant if you're just
Yep.
renting a regular house. Am I onto something here?
You are right on the money. That's exactly it. There's no investment strategy that's going to pay off this good without a whole plethora of hoops to jump through. And that is something we often see is that real estate investors will say, well, I just want something easy. I just want get rich quick. I just want this. It's like, hey, that's not this, right? This is a lot of hard work in the beginning to get it up to standard, to get it up to par. It might be a lot of investment and it doesn't have to be yours, right? We show people how to use other people's money and SBA 7A loans, syndication, all these different things, but it's going to be an investment. It's going to be work to get it to the point where it's cash flowing and passive. But all that hard work, there's a lot of people along the way who quit, who said, this is too much. I'll go do something else. So I like it for that reason, because I really don't think everyone should get into this industry because it's not for everyone. If you don't like people, if you don't care about seniors, you shouldn't get into this, right? Like that should be like a number one. But also, if you're not willing to jump through those hoops, you shouldn't get into this because it's important. These rules are there for a reason. These regulations are there for a reason, and it's to protect your staff, your seniors, and yourself as a business owner. And if you can't understand that or grasp it, then it's not for you, and that's okay.
And do you see that? Well, I was going to ask you about, because if you spend, let's just call it $1 million, right? You spend $1 million on buying a house, okay?
Yeah.
So you find that 3,000, 4,000 square foot house, whatever, in Arizona, whatever, and then you go and what type of money, extra investment would somebody need to get the place like super compliant, all the extras, bells and whistles, and to get the place like ready to rock and roll?
Yep. It's mostly going to be about renovating the home to have the maximum amount of bedrooms, bathrooms. So if you're already buying $1 million home, I would hope that it's already relatively close, maybe 6 or 7 bedrooms. And so we're only maybe chopping it up a little bit, adding a little bit more, and getting right there. And then some states require fire suppression, so sprinklers. That's about $3 to $5 per square foot. If you have a multi-level home, you're going to need to add a residential elevator. That's 30 to 50 grand, right? So all those different things, ramps, guardrails, handrails, things to keep it senior safe are going to be important. And then smooth, clean floors all throughout the house, right? We don't want carpet. We don't want hardwood even, because that soaks up liquids and we're not talking water, right? So it is important to have like LTV or tile, and not even like rugs. Like literally you just want smooth, clean floors all throughout. So the renovations, depending on how the house starts, could be as low as 50K. They could be upwards of, 100, 200. It really just depends. But you could easily be in most markets all in the home plus renovations for under 1.2. Easy.
Cool. I mean, I think it's I mean, I've always been fascinated by the space. So, for sure. I mean, this is why I'm really, really curious right now. I mean, it has like, did COVID affect you guys like when that was happening? I mean, what did that do to you?
In a positive way, actually. It's really interesting because it finally shined a light on what's happening in the big boxes, and people started to realize, oh my God, like the care is atrocious, and my loved ones being left for days, and they're shoving food under the door, and they clearly do not care about the human being at the end of the day. It is all dollar signs to them. And so for us, it was a beautiful thing because people were ripping their loved ones out of big boxes, begging to come into our homes. Smaller care homes represent 61% of the current beds in our market today for assisted living. But they're small homes. There's no big sign. A lot of them don't even have websites, right? It's all like mom and pop. We're the first people to come into the market and kind of run it as business owners and operators. A lot of these homes is someone who lives in the home, cares for the senior themselves. They do it all themselves. So there's really no mass marketing. And so you might drive by them every day and not even know that they exist. There's 30,000 group homes across our country. 3,000 in the county I'm in alone right now, Maricopa County. So it's very popular in Arizona, Florida, California, where you are. Certain states are growing in popularity as well. And other states, we have students who created the first of their kind, right? And so it's really cool because COVID was a good thing for us in that even the big box owners started coming and saying, we realize smaller is better. How do we become like you? And so you'll notice now people, big box owners are starting to buy entire like plots of land and build large neighborhoods where they have like 10 small homes. And they're literally trying to do our model, but like a whole neighborhood of them because they know no one wants to go into this big facility with long hallways and crappy food and just all this terrible stuff. So it's really interesting. It changed the industry for us in a better way, but it changed the industry forever.
Yeah, I mean, this is how the old people, they get lost, right? I mean, they get lost in this 20,000, 30,000 square foot facility. You forget about people in these big places. So to me, just, using common sense, it makes a lot of sense to me why this is a great idea.
Yeah.
Super, super idea. And as an investor, I mean, 1.2 to bring in profit of $150,000 is a
Yeah.
super, super good return on
Oh, yeah.
investment. I mean, it's a
Oh,
super good return on investment. And again, this isn't even counting growth on your property and the future appreciation and things like that. So yeah, this is for sure a great idea. I mean, tell me walk me through a little bit of the how do you manage the finances? Like, do you have somebody managing all the finances for you, budgeting, controlling costs, things like that on a monthly basis?
yeah. Yeah, the administrator who's in the home will give them certain limitations, right? So when they first start, maybe it's like, hey, whatever you need to buy under $500, go do your thing. And then other things after that, it's like, okay, just ask me as things come up. But you really budget everything out in the beginning because you are paying for food, you are paying for activities, you are doing all the regular household things we have, utilities and cable, and if the handyman needs to come over, landscaping, all these different things within the home, but then also liability insurance, right? Which is typically $2 to $3 per day per resident. So with 10 residents, $900 a month, it's a line item, but you want to have it because things can go wrong. And so that's important. So liability insurance, business license renewal, and then your biggest expense, 40% of your total expenses is going to go towards your caregivers and your administrator, right? So that's going to be the biggest chunk of change because we want to make sure we're paying them well so that they want to stay and they want to keep coming back to work for us. And already we know we're offering them a better product where they enjoy being there more because you have to think a caregiver is typically being paid $1 or $2 above minimum wage. I mean, you could go to Chick-fil-A and go get paid that right now. You can go to In-N-Out and go get paid that right now. Why would they become a caregiver when they could get that somewhere else? They do it because it's in their heart. They do it because they were born to do this. They love seniors. They would never go work at Chick-fil-A. This is what God put them on earth to do. And that's a beautiful thing. But you still need to make sure that they're being treated well and with respect, and that when they come into this environment that they want to stay, that they enjoy themselves, that they're being appreciated. Because I know I can guarantee they're definitely not at the big box and they might be getting paid the same, but it's a totally different experience we can provide for them as well. And that's a really cool thing being in this industry is not only are you helping these families, these seniors, but also the staff, right? It's such a fun thing to be able to provide amazing jobs for the staff and really be able to love on them in a way that they haven't got from any other boss that they've worked for.
So typically, what does it cost per person to live at one of these facilities?
It's not necessarily broken down that way, but I'll break it down like this. If the average cost of care in our country right now is $5,350 per month per person, we'll call it 5,500 just to call it even, because that average number includes our friends on government funding as well as our private pay friends. So in California, if you have any friends or family who have loved ones going into care homes, they might be paying $8, $9, $10,000 a month, right, in private pay. So 5,500 to call it even. 10 residents in the home, that's 55,000 coming in every month. Your mortgage on that, $1 million plus home might run you about 10 grand a month. Your expenses, including all those things we talked about, activities, the caregivers, the food, this, that, might be 3,500 a month. So it could be kind of broken down to 3,500 per person if you wanted to that way. That's leaving you as the owner operator with 10K every single month or the 120 a year. So that's kind of an average example. Most of our students and all of our homes, we do private pay. So our homes, it is a lot higher rates than that 5,500, and that's what you'll commonly find.
But you're trying to be a little bit conservative for us in your numbers. Is that
Trying
what
to
you're
be
trying to say?
conservative.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, yeah. You
Yes.
you you don't want anybody to accuse you of like marketing a get rich quick scheme or anything like that. No,
You know,
I can tell Isabelle. I mean, you got a good heart for sure. I mean, I can read people pretty well. I mean, you got a lot of like you're trying to do what's right,
yes.
and and you're being blessed for that. I think that's a cool thing, right? I mean, you're providing a solution that is definitely needed right now. There's a lot of people that are going. I mean, my grandmother, she's now, thank God, she's been, hanging with us for a long time. I mean, she's 94, but now she's got somebody that's basically living with her in her own home. And
Yeah.
so, but she was able to do that just because, her house was paid off and all, and whatever. But the bottom line is that I see it, right?
Yeah.
Because I look at like her kids, which is like my uncles and even my parents, they're 70.
Yep.
So, when you get to 80 and 85 and, you don't know what's going to happen. So, for sure, I mean, this is, another reminder why we need to take care of our freaking health, right? And
Yes.
make sure that we take care of ourselves because, if we don't, this is the challenges that's going to happen. And but I mean, with 300 million plus people in America, you just take a small percentage of that need, facilities. I think they say that, 50% of everybody's going to need long-term care at some point anyways. So,
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
70%.
yeah, I mean, it's a reality, right? So
Yes.
it's not going away. I mean, there's always going to be people that are going to be healthier, but it ain't
Yeah.
going away. There's going to be millions and millions of people that need this. And so if you could profit from it, why not? And do what's right and help people and make a difference. It's kind of a win-win thing. How do you market this? I mean, how do you get your clients?
Great question. So we actually usually there's a bunch of different ways, I should say that. But number one, you're going to want all of the regular things. You're going to want a web presence, a Facebook page, all that good stuff. Number two, relationships, geriatric doctors, elder law attorneys, hospice agents, all those different people are going to be your new best friends because they will send you leads all day. But number three is working with local placement agents. So that's kind of like a realtor for a senior, more or less. Like if your grandma falls and breaks her hip and she can't live alone, right? And so she needs assisted living. They usually work with the family and they say, okay, what amenities, what price point, what location are you looking for? They'll then tour you to a couple different facilities. It costs the family nothing, but the home, right? They will pay half of the first month's rent or the entire first month's rent to that placement agent, depending on whatever contract you had with them. So that's a way to pay for speed and fill your beds a little bit faster, having those placement agents in place. But at the end of the day, the best referrals come from relationships because word of mouth really matters in this industry. And with 10 beds, it's not the same as filling a big box facility that has 250 beds, right? They've got these massive marketing dollars and all this stuff going on, billboards and commercials and this and that. We don't need that. We need 10 seniors. The average stay is 3.5 years. So your turnover, you do have turnover, but it's not as insane as you might think. And what's weird is this, actually, this is a fun fact. The less expensive that the home is, meaning our friends who are on government funding in homes, the shorter their stay is. The more expensive, the higher their stay. I think that comes down to the fact that someone who doesn't have a lot of money and they need assisted living, they're going to wait till the absolute last second to go in. And now they pass pretty quickly within the home. But someone who has money and they're chilling, they're like, oh, let's go in. Sure. Like maybe they even do what your grandmother's doing. Hey, let me get in-home care, or let me move to an independent community, all those different things, because money isn't an issue. So they go sooner, they choose something nicer, and they kind of stay there longer. So it's really interesting because when people come to us and they say they want to get started in this industry, but they want to start with low end homes, there are things to note, right? There's less profit to be had, but also your seniors turn over a lot more. And to me, if you can have a higher end home where you're cash flowing better, you can use that profit to go do whatever you want. Maybe it's buying, a car, a boat, or whatever. Maybe it is giving back to less fortunate seniors who need that care and assistance. So, the do good, do well concept can be used in so many different ways.
And is there like, do you guys do activities for these seniors? I mean, are there things that, because to me, I try to study how to live long. I mean, I'm
Yes,
I'm I'm going for 120, baby.
I
So
love
I'm
it.
I'm I'm gonna make it happen one way or another. I'm going for 120. But I think about how important social is, right?
Yes.
Having a social life, and I feel like if it's a smaller facility, I feel like you're going to get to know the people better in there, and you're going to know you're almost going to it's going to be easier if there's only 10 people there. You're kind of building a community. Hopefully, if obviously some people are not doing that well, maybe, but the people that maybe went in early, they're building relationships with other people in there. Does that kind of happen sometimes?
Absolutely. And we do a lot of activities within the home, whether it's pet therapy, senior yoga, art days or this or that. They do all sorts of fun stuff. When we first got started in this industry, my dad was like, "Hey, back when you were back in high school or back in sorority, you had to do X amount of volunteer hours. Do you think you could go back to those places and add our name to the list of like somewhere that the kids can come and get their community service hours?" So I said, "Sure." And so I went to my college sorority. And I was like, who knows if these girls are going to take me up on it. But I asked the girls, hey, we own a care home. Would anybody want to come and hang out with the seniors? I'll sign off on your community service hours. We had like 15 girls say yes. And the day I walked 15 beautiful little sorority girls into the care home, every little grandpa was like, what is going on? It was the best day of their life. And they just did puzzles, painted nails with the ladies, like hang out, talk about their war stories and this, that, and the other. And the girls were like, this was so fun. And all the seniors were like, when are they coming back? So you can do paid activities or you can do totally free volunteer activities. And our students come up with the most amazing things. We've seen car shows, we've had mini ponies come, they've done, bag toss and all sorts of fun games. But I love what you're saying because I think wellness homes are going to be a trend for the baby boomer generation coming in. We're going to have a lot more homes that focus on clean, healthy eating, that have things like red light therapy, and they have more PT and more focus on spiritual health, mental health, just physical health. I think that's going to be a huge trend in the senior housing industry over the next 10, 20 years.
Isabelle, I think you're right. Like I just saw a vision of the next 10 years. And yeah, for sure. I mean, why? I mean, if you have the money, and you're this lonely senior, you got, because I mean, we all, if we have extra free time, what do we want to do? We want to go to some wellness retreat.
Yeah.
Well, shit, if you could go to a wellness retreat, every
All day.
week, yeah, like all day, go to a wellness retreat, like for your whole life. I mean, the rest of your life. I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, and let's be honest, right? There's a lot of seniors that they don't have families,
Yeah.
right? They're just alone.
Yeah.
And so this is I don't know the statistics on that, but to look at the statistics of like how many seniors right now, how many people over 65 or 70 years old or whatever. I don't know what's the average age
85.
usually. 85. Okay. So let's just say 80 years old, right? You start marketing to seniors saying, are you lonely, right? Do you want to be involved in a community and have social, but look at all these things. It's almost like college now, right? Look at college for kids. The colleges are selling the kids on the fact that they have you know water sports, and they
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
swimming
Pools and
pools and
yeah.
pool halls and all these different things. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting direction that this whole industry could take in the future. But yeah, that's when you look at like technology, is technology playing a part for you? I mean, how is that integrated into what you're doing?
Yeah, for being hands off in this industry, technology is huge. So back in the day, as an owner, you would have to go there because this is crazy, but they were doing everything paper books on everything. So if I passed Susie Sue, 3 pills a day, I wrote it down on paper. Okay, that is so like a thing of the past. And yet so many of these homes still do that. Now we have electronic medical recording systems. We have all sorts of different things that we can do so that I don't have to go to the homes. I visit my homes like maybe every other month because there's no need for me to be there. I can go online, I can see QuickBooks, I can see who's paid, who's late, what's going on. I can see payroll, I can see all of that online. I can see who's taken their pills, who refused pills, who ate today, what everyone's weights are. I can see everything, and I can get reports from my administrator online too. So they'll just send me, here's what's going on in the home, here's our activities for the day, here's our menu for the day, all sorts of great stuff. And it's just like, okay, thumbs up, call me if you need me. And we can do beautiful things like this, like Zoom, where we can just have our meeting right here instead of me having to go in. So we use technology a lot in that way. I think within the home, there are some really cool new systems coming about. Like there's this one thing called Tovertel. It's like an overhead projector that the seniors can play like whack-a-mole basically, and they can do puzzles, they can do all sorts of incredible games. So new tech is coming into the market as far as activities for the seniors, and I think that's going to be really cool. But then also as an operator, everything is tech these days. They wear trackable watches within the home that I can see where all the seniors are. I can see where the caregivers are. They can clock in. They can enter and exit their room with those. It can track UTIs. It can track falls. It tracks how long it takes from a caregiver to get to a senior. Tech is amazing, and it's only going to keep getting better and better because what have we seen over the last 70 years? The baby boomers drive our economy. Wherever they're at in life is where our economy goes, is what we're focused on. So right now, they're approaching senior housing, and this is what we're going to see for the next 20 years. Massive attention, focus, and new immersion of different things like tech in this space.
Yeah, it's this world is, and I think it's all good. I mean, a lot of people are like, I don't like technology. I want to stay away from technology. There's too much technology. Obviously, there's always going to be human touch, and there has to be human touch. But I mean, think about it from a perspective of being an entrepreneur. I mean, for you to not really have to visit your offices very often, I mean, is a beautiful thing because it allows you to have more freedom and
Yeah.
choices and options in your life, right? I mean, this becomes a passive endeavor. I mean, so many people are benefiting, so many people are being helped, but at the same time, if you just continue to duplicate out your systems, and it sounds like to me, you have systematized everything to make your life easy. That's a big part of my book. I wrote it because I love systems. I love that my whole life is kind of automated. My whole business is automated. Everything just kind of runs on its own
Yeah.
without me. Nobody needs me anymore. I always tell people all the time, they're like, what do you do? And I said, well, I have a podcast and I write some books now, but they're like, but what do you do? Like, and I said, it's just, I'm free because of the systems and processes that I put together years ago. I mean, I'm talking 20 plus years ago. And those systems have been able to create the freedom and the lifestyle that I've been able to live for a long, long time. I mean, over 20 years now. And so I think what you're doing is fantastic. I love all the tech things. And look, I mean, let's be honest, right? There's probably cameras in there too. You didn't mention that, but I'm sure there's cameras all over the place. So you can
Yes.
actually see what's going on. Not only does the trackable track everything, but you could see what's going on with your own eyes without leaving your office. I mean, how
Exactly.
awesome, like leaving your own house, right? Because you're in your house most of the time, working out of your house most
Yeah.
of the time. It's beautiful. I mean, it's an awesome thing to be able to work from your house. All right. So, how do you help people? I mean, what do you do and what kind of services do you do for people? Because obviously now you kind of went into the next level where you're like, okay, I'm not just doing this for myself anymore. I'm going to actually go teach other people how to open up their own assisted, care facilities.
Exactly. When we saw how much this changed our family, having that peace of mind of a place to put a loved one if they ever need it, where you actually feel good about it and that cash flow and relieving the burden, right? There's just such a question mark of if and when your loved one's going to need this and who's going to pay for it, what's it going to look like. So when we saw that impact in our own lives, we were like, we have to share this message with other real estate investors, entrepreneurs, medical professionals, whoever really wants to get involved. It doesn't matter who you are. We've had students as young as 22, as old as 72, with real estate background, without, and that's a beautiful thing. So we teach and train people at the Residential Assisted Living Academy. We have online courses as well as live 3-day trainings that we host here in Phoenix, Arizona, where we really go step by step, showing people A to Z how to open their care home, how to systemize it, how to scale, and do this without using their own money. And so it's a really beautiful thing. I love being able to teach people because when they get to come back and say, we opened the care home, we have X amount of seniors, and, I got my first check for 6K wrapped in a love letter saying, thank you for loving my mom. It's like, boom, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to see. It's that financial freedom, it's that time freedom, and it's that significance, right? We can have success in so many different ways, but sometimes it's hard to make an impact or have a significant, mark that you leave in the world. And this is a beautiful way for a lot of real estate investors who already have experience to kind of take that, put it in a new category and transition from success to significance. And so I love being able to train people how to do this. So yeah, that's what we focus on at the Residential Assisted Living Academy.
You are doing a great job, and I am very impressed. First time I got to meet you, but I'm very impressed by you and excited to know you and to get to know you in the future. And I wish you all of the best. Tell everybody how they're going to get a hold of you and how they connect with you.
Yeah, you can schedule a call with me or the team anytime at ral101.com or follow us on social media at RAL Academy.
All right. So, and just so everybody that's watching, listening, if you could do me a huge favor, I think your Instagram is RAL Academy. Is that correct? Okay. And so, if you guys could go to her Instagram and just blow her up and just say what's up, what's going on, Isabelle. I saw you with Daniel Alonzo on Wealth on the Beach podcast, and just tell her thank you for the insights, because I think it's valuable stuff. I mean, this is the future of real estate, at least definitely a new category as far as real estate investing. And If you have that kind of servant's heart and this appeals to you, man, this is it just seems like such a great idea. And then, so go out, say hello, thank her for her time, and for everybody else. If you haven't yet got my book, Wealth on the Beach, make sure you go out on Amazon. And by the way, I'm on audible.com now. And so, go check out Wealth on the Beach. And if you do get my book, leave me a review. The reviews are so, so important. Good or bad, I don't care. Good or bad, whether you like it, you don't like it. But I think the book has made a big impact on so many people. I've gotten so many wonderful, wonderful messages from people around the country and outside of the country. And I appreciate all you guys for your incredible support of Wealth on the Beach podcast. I think this is our, fourth year, maybe even going on 5 years now. And I think we've interviewed over 250 entrepreneurs and business people, celebrities, you name it. And I'm just really, really proud to serve you guys. So with that said, continue to dream bigger than ever. Get after it. But most importantly, do it now. God bless you. We will see you at the top.